All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Sportsmen podcast. You got Joey D, you got myself, Mikey V. Big Ticket sends his apologies. This guy is a busy man. Our schedules are all over the place. These guys have traveled the entire country inside of 72 hours. So we're trying our best to piece it together to make sure that you get an episode each and every week with a combination thereof, myself, Joe, and Ticket. Tonight you got me and Joe, and we're going to rip one for you guys, and we hope you enjoy it. And we're going to start right out of the gates real hot. Not even going to ask Joe how he's doing because I know he's exhausted. I know I'm exhausted, but we're going to power through this one for you guys. We're going to start right out of the gate. Last night, actually now episodes dropping Thursday, 2 nights ago, first college football playoff ranking comes out.
Pretty cool.
The format, obviously, this year, for those of you who aren't aware, those of you who are casual college football fans, or maybe you don't follow the sport as much, you're used to that 4-team playoff that's been in existence since the 2014 season. It's been around for a decade. This year, the 10th year, they're switching to 12 teams. 12 teams will make the college football playoff this year. The highest seeds that don't have a bye, so that's the 5, 6, 7, 8 seed, will all host a playoff game in their college's stadium, which is pretty awesome. And they will play, obviously, the fourth lowest ranked seeds. The top 4 seeds will receive a bye. But here's the catch, is that when you look at the rankings, the top 4 teams is not the top 4 seedings.
Yeah.
When I say that, so you look at the top teams: Oregon 1, Ohio State 2, Georgia 3, Miami 4. Ohio State is actually the 5th seed when it comes to, so Ohio State does not have a bye because it goes by conference champion, conference first place in the conference, which Oregon obviously has now with that win over Ohio State earlier in the year. Joe, what do you think of the layout of the new playoff? Are you excited for the new format? Do you think it's a good idea? Did they mess it up and put too many teams? Is it just right? What do you think is going to happen here? How do you like it, the way it's laid out?
I do like it, Mikey. I mean, we talked last year and multiple years about a lot of these teams who come on late throughout the season and are just on the cusp of making that top 4 seeded bracket and could potentially run the table, if given a chance. I think this definitely allows a team to participate in the playoff and run the table and do their thing and have a chance at winning, which, in the past, is very tough. If you're a team like BYU, for example, it's a very tough opportunity to get in amongst a team like Alabama or a team like Georgia. So I think it definitely evens the playing field. I think it's going to give a lot of cool matchups. It's going to give a lot of teams an opportunity to really show who's the best of the best. And I think on this year particularly, Michael, I really don't think there's one significant standalone team at the top of the rankings. I really think it could be anyone's playoff. I think any given week any team can win. So I think it's going to be really exciting. I think there's going to be some awesome football matchups, and I think it's going to be really cool to watch.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you mentioned BYU. As it stands today, BYU would have a bye in the first round. How crazy is that? They're the
That's
fourth.
wild.
Now, again, so people don't realize they're ranked ninth. The College Football Playoff Committee says they're the ninth best teams in the ninth best team in the country, but due to the way it seeds with conference standings and the way that works, they're actually the 4 seed. So they would have a bye in the first round. They would end
That's
up
wild.
playing the winner of Ohio State, Boise State. So Ohio State would take on the lowest seed, which would be Boise State right now. But I think you're right, Joe. I mean, just take a look at the teams that are outside of the top 4 seeded teams. So I'm not talking about the top 4 rankings. I'm talking about Oregon's the 1, Georgia 2, BYU 4, Miami 3. That's the top 4 seeded teams. But outside of that, I mean, you got Alabama at 11 seed, Texas at the 6 seed. They would play each
LSU.
other, which would be an awesome rematch, I think. Notre Dame, Penn State, another matchup that I think would be a good football game. Indiana, the surprise team of the year that's been absolutely
Indiana's.
steamrolling teams, haven't lost a game yet. They've covered in almost every game. I think they failed to cover one game the entire year. Indiana, Tennessee, another team. That would be a great football game. So what Joe's saying is right. I mean, you're going to get an opportunity to see all these games that you would never normally see. I'm going to say this though, having the top 4 seed, one of the top 4 seeds, is going to be a major advantage, because you got to remember, these teams are going to play in a conference championship game. And to have to play that extra conference championship game, then play in the quarterfinal game, or the first round game. Then you got to play a quarterfinal
A
game. Then
lot.
you got to play a semifinal game just to get to the national title. All those extra games, these college kids are not used to playing that many games. This is going to be a true test of who could last the longest, a war of attrition in terms of who could sustain less injury and who could secure those buys. Those buys are going to be so massive
Yeah.
to get
Right now it's
automatically
what?
into the
Miami,
quarterfinal.
Georgia, Oregon, BYU. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So right now, Oregon would play if it ended today. Oregon plays the winner of Indiana, Tennessee. BYU would play winner of Boise State,
Yeah.
Ohio
Ohio
State.
State.
Georgia would play winner of Penn State, Notre Dame,
What
and
a game
Miami
that would
would.
be.
It would be a great game, and then Miami would play the winner of
Alabama,
Bama,
Texas.
Texas. So I mean, really, I mean that's if it ended today. We know it's not. It's never going to shake up this way. It's going to change a million times probably before the final Selection Sunday show. But I'm excited, man. I wasn't sure about 12 teams, but now the 12 teams that are in it, I mean, you got some blue-blooded teams that are in here, the Tennessees, the Notre Dames, the Penn State, the Bamas, the Texas. You don't have to necessarily be one of those top 4 teams to have a shot, but I still think, man, it's going to be tough for somebody who doesn't have a bye to get all the way through to the national championship.
I'm interested too because there's a couple teams, out just outside of that 12 spot. You look at Texas A&M, obviously, the little
Yep.
bundle this week,
LSU.
but LSU, Ole Miss,
Yep. Ole
there's
Miss, yep.
definitely a couple of those teams, with one loss in that top 12. If they lose again, that, like you said, that bracket could completely be shaken up. So
100%.
I think it's cool too. We're getting a little bit of extra football that we get to watch, and it's gonna be really fucking fun, man. And by the way, after this week, I have to say, I think to me, Ohio State looks like the best team in college football after watching them, kind of pretty handily take care of Penn State. I really think, Mikey, that this team's gelling at the right time. I think you got to be happy with what you're seeing.
Yeah, my thing about Ohio State, and people were like trying to hype me up after Saturday a lot. This
I
is
was
all
hyped.
this is all I could say about Ohio State. It's tough to get overly hyped when you beat a team that you always beat. I mean, James Franklin has only beat Ohio State one time. It was in 2016. You're talking almost 10 years ago. Ohio State has historically owned Penn State over the last decade plus. So it's tough for me. I want to see Ohio State beat Michigan, which Ryan Day has not been
Well,
able to do. And I know
you
this
should
year's
be able to
I
this
know
year,
this
Mikey.
year's version of Michigan is not previous, but again, you could throw the records out when it comes to that game traditionally. That game is always a wild card game because of the rivalry. And Ohio State's still going to play Indiana. And this Indiana team is no joke. I know people don't want to take them seriously because it's Indiana. This team isn't just beating teams. This team is covering every week and they're blowing teams out. They're obliterating teams. So that's going to be very interesting. I'll still give Oregon the number one. Oregon beat Ohio State. Yes, it was by 1 point. Yes, there was a controversial offensive pass interference call. Yes, Will Howard didn't get down in time for them to attempt a game-winning field goal. Yes, it was on the road in Austin. But I still will give Oregon the nod, and I still think Georgia is one of those upper echelon teams. I know they're a slow starting team, and I know Carson Beck has had his issues, but talent-wise, I still think Oregon, Ohio State, Georgia. I think those 3 teams are really, really elite. And listen,
You like
how
Miami?
could you ignore Miami? They're 9-0. How could you ignore that? And Cam Ward is the Heisman favorite.
And you know what? They've overcome some adversity. That game that they came back to beat Cal against,
Yeah.
that showed the tenacity of this team because I think a lot of teams would have just given up.
Yeah.
Cam Ward has been unbelievable. That receiver they have is, what's his name?
Oh, yes. He is
a Heisman candidate himself.
Yeah,
he's
awesome.
unbelievable.
Yeah, he's awesome. Yep.
But yeah, to your point, again, Oregon took care of business this week. Again, they covered. But I just think that, to me, Oregon hasn't been in this position, of being a number 1 team in a long, long time. That brings a lot of pressure.
Restrepo.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. But I think Oregon hasn't been in this position in so long that's going to be a lot of added pressure. Whereas a team like Georgia and Ohio State, to your point, they're in that position every year. They're at the top of the football, gauntlet. So I need to see more out of Oregon before to your point, yeah, they are number 1. They haven't lost, but I don't know if when push comes to shove, if they're going to be able to beat, again, a team like Ohio State or a Georgia or someone like that. I don't know if they can do it.
Yeah, I mean, time's going to tell. I think Dan Lanning, what he's done since he's gone to Oregon, I think he's really done a great job over there. Dylan Gabriel, again, another guy who I don't think he's invincible by any means.
He's
I
a
think
small guy.
there are holes in his game. I think if you get pressure on Dylan Gabriel, he's a totally different looking quarterback in a negative way, not a positive way. It's just a matter of actually getting to him. But it's going to be great the way it shakes out. But college football certainly in full swing now, cooking. We're at the end of the season, believe it or not. We got about a
It's
month left
crazy.
of college football until the conference championship games, and that's it. It's over. It comes and goes just like that. I mean, it seems like yesterday we were looking at Florida State, Georgia Tech in Ireland at kickoff. I was on the beach watching that game, and now all of a sudden we're talking about conference championship games in 5 weeks. It's just crazy how fast the season goes for college. More so obviously than NFL because of the shortened season, but it's going to be an incredible run and flight to the finish there for college football. Moving on, week 8 NFL wrapped up, Joe. We'll talk about our teams, of course. But we'll start with yours because your team really was involved in what was really in the eyes of the NFL, probably a game of the week type of game. Packers, Lions in Lambeau. You got the weather on your side, which I really thought was going to be a difference maker for the Packers because you get Goff outside of the dome. I believe this was Goff's first outdoor game of the year, and it's
Wow.
November already. If you could believe that, I believe this was his first outdoor
That's
game of the
crazy.
season, and it was a rainy, miserable day in Green Bay. I really thought that would have played to the Packers' advantage. I know you must have watched every single snap of that game, Joe. What did you say?
I mean, this game was essentially a blowout, but I do believe ultimately it was just a game of big mistakes that the Packers just couldn't come back from. And the gravest of them all was at
The
the end
pick
of the
six.
first half,
Yeah,
the
the
pick
pick
six.
six.
Because
Yeah.
listen, we missed the field goal going in. It should have been 10-6. But even still, it was 10-3 at that point. Say if we just don't get anything on that drive, go into half, you're down one score at home in a game that you really, they methodically drove down the field and then they just couldn't end up getting points. So as soon as they got to a position where they were in Detroit's, like around their 30 or whatnot, they just stalled. But even saying so, I think if you make that a one score game going into the second half at Lambeau, and again, I don't know how Jared Goff fares in the second half. It's a totally different game, but Love he needs, for as good as he is, he needs to learn when just to throw the ball
Kill the
away.
play. Yeah,
Sometimes
kill
he
the play.
tries way too hard to extend the play. And I think part of that is a byproduct of playing behind a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who he's seen for years. He does things that the average quarterback just cannot do in terms of extending a play, making a throw, making a play extend, and getting a first down. And I think part of that is the immaturity of Jordan Love and just needing to understand that, hey, we don't necessarily need points right now. What we can't do is give away points. And that's exactly what they did. And you know what? Then, the Lions got the ball to start the first half. They go all the way down the field. The defense couldn't stop them and they scored. And you know what? That was that. But up until that turnaround, that pick six, it was a game, man. You look at the Lions, they scored on a fourth down play where Dan Campbell went for it, threw an out route to Amon-Ra St. Brown, which was a tremendous touchdown. But this game was back and forth. And, ultimately the Packers are just, they're a great team. But if I look at them, the eye test, Mikey, I really just don't think they're at the level of play right now that the Lions are, especially when you look at that rushing attack between David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, man, that is just fucking lethal. So the Packers have got to do they have a lot of work to do to get back on the grind and get to that next level. I definitely think they're a playoff team. I think they're one of the better teams in the NFL. But to me right now, Mikey, the Lions look like they could compete with anyone in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, I every Tuesday morning I've been tweeting out my top 5 NFL teams as of that day, as of the end of the new NFL week, or as at the end of the previous week, start of the new NFL week. And for the last 2 weeks, my number one team, and this is with the Chiefs included being undefeated, my number one team has been the Detroit Lions the last 2 weeks, and solidifying that after that victory in Green Bay, because that is a game that I really did not think Jared Goff would go out and win. And he has looked every
He's
bit
looked
of an
great.
NFL MVP this year. He has. Lamar Jackson certainly stating his case, but Jared Goff is certainly stating his. And the Lions' offensive line is such an elite unit. That Lions' offensive line, it gets that run game going. They lean on you. They don't stop leaning on you. Thunder and lightning, like you said, Joe, at Montgomery and Gibbs. And then they could whack you with Amon-Ra St. Brown. They could whack you with Sam Laporta. Now they get Jameson Williams back. They have weaponry. They have a quarterback playing the best football of his career. The defense now gets Zadarius Smith over from Cleveland. They sign him right before the trade deadline. They bring him in, which I think will help. Listen, he's not Aiden Hutchinson, but they don't really need him to be Aiden Hutchinson. They just need a little bit more productivity there in the pass rush. The Lions, to me, are the hands down favorite to win the NFC right now. Maybe Philadelphia, if that head coach could get his shit together, they could possibly contend. But those Detroit Lions, man, they look so pesky. And I don't even think it's so much about the Green Bay Packers, because I think the Packers are a rock solid team. I think they're really solid. It's more about the Lions for me. Here's what I'll say about Green Bay. I don't think Jordan Love is right yet. I don't think
so either.
Not right.
He's been battling.
And they need him. You know why? Because if this division wasn't the way it was with Minnesota and Detroit being as good as they are, they wouldn't be rushing him back into action, I don't think, maybe as quickly. But every game is so critically important in this division that he has to play. If he's able, he has to. Doesn't mean he's at full strength, and I don't think he's anywhere near it. Hopefully his injury gets better as the season goes along, but obviously the season wears on you in ways that, that ultimately make it more and more difficult to go out there fresher every week. So we're going to see. If I'm you, Joe, I'm not anywhere near panicking with Green Bay. I just think Detroit.
They're 6-3. They're a good team.
Right.
They're in a wild card spot right now. But if you look at that wild card, Mikey, two of those teams are from the NFC North. You got the Vikings at 6-2, the Packers at 6-3, and then you have the Eagles. The Lions, to me, I think might have the most elite offense in the league. And then you couple that with the fact that Dan Campbell will not shy away from being aggressive. He will go for it on fourth down.
Yeah, he's great.
He will call trick plays. So sometimes he's overly aggressive to a fault.
He is.
Which can hurt him, but he's not afraid to show faith in that team. And I think that they step up and they play great when that happens. So yeah, man, but to your point, we saw Jordan Love last week or the prior week get injured and look like he hampered something. Malik Willis had to come in. So yeah, I totally agree with you. I don't think he's at 100%. But like you said, it's very fucking, intense. That is a very competitive division. And every week in the NFL is so vitally important that I think he's kind of just playing through the pain.
Yeah. Yep. We'll touch on a couple more games from this week's slate, some games that stand out. I'll quickly talk about my team, the Chicago Bears.
I thought they could win that game.
Oh no, I love Arizona. In fact, I was this close to putting it out as an official pick, Arizona money line. My only thing was if the Bears by some miracle did win, I feel like people would have jumped on me because they would have just accused me of being anti-Bears and down on the Bears. That's not the case. This Bears team has been completely exposed. Their offensive line is completely devoid of talent now with Braxton Jones injured. Darnell Wright's banged up. They're decimated. Caleb Williams and DJ Moore are not on the same page. DJ Moore caught flack for walking off the field in the middle of a play.
Oh, no.
Matt Eberflus says he rolled his ankle. Players are complaining about the coaching and the calls. The locker room feels like every week it's getting more and more divided. That Hail Mary play against Washington completely broke this team. It completely broke this team, and the proof is in the pudding with the egg that they laid in Arizona. They get New England at home this week. If they lose to the New England Patriots,
they're not going to lose.
If they lose to the New England Patriots, Joe, Mikey, I don't know what's going to happen, but the media, it's already a feeding frenzy in Chicago. People want Eberflus out. I certainly want Eberflus out. He's under an unknown year contract. Some say it was 4 years, others saying it's 5 years. Either way, you got to bite the bullet and get rid of this guy. If Ryan Poles doesn't, he's not the right man for the job, because this guy loses games in fashions that I've never seen. Games where they have it wrapped up in a bow, he'll blow it. The Hail Mary game. There was games last year that he did the same thing where they were 98% chance of winning. They blew it in 2022 against the Lions. Last year,
I remember that Lions game. That was crazy.
They've blown these games that are near impossible to blow. The Browns game, I think, last year, it's as bad as it's ever been with this head coach. And it doesn't look any better. And what once was a 4-2 team that was one play away from being a 5-2 football team is now a 500 football team with a bad team coming in at home. But then the gauntlet starts and they start playing the divisional opponents, starting with the Packers the following weekend. I'll be at that game. Now I don't even want to go because I know it's going to happen. The Packers are going to curb stomp them because the Packers are on a bye. Packers get 2 weeks to prepare for the Bears, and they're going to be pissed off with that loss against the Lions. They are going to blow the Bears out in 2 weeks at Soldier Field. It's going to be embarrassing. I'll be there to witness it. What a shame. What a shame. But anyway,
you can't say that. You don't know,
Joe. They're gonna get embarrassed. They're gonna get embarrassed. You know it. I know it. 2 weeks to prepare. LaFleur's a good coach. They'll be all guns will be blazing for Green Bay. They'll be fresh as daisies. And listen, I don't know if the Bears. I don't know if the Bears are going to beat the Patriots, Joe.
They are, Mikey. They are. Okay. They are. I do agree with you though. That loss against the Commanders was as tough as a blow as you could take because they deserved to win that game. They should. There's no way they should have lost. And by the way, Washington is a great team, and they played really with Jay Daniels,
7-2 football team.
Whether he was hampered enough or not, they went into a hostile environment. They weathered the storm in the first half when the offense couldn't do anything.
They did.
They came up with 2 huge drives. That would have been such a character novelty win for this team, for a young team, for a young quarterback like Caleb Williams, instead to leave there with a loss.
Yeah, broken.
And so demoralizing. But I didn't know how they would respond. I thought maybe they would have a chip on their shoulder going into this week, and they just couldn't stop the run. Honestly, Kyler Murray didn't have to do anything.
No, James Conner.
Every single run that they rushed for, it was third. Well, that last run.
Oh, before halftime. Oh, God, yeah.
The 40, 60-yard run. I mean, how the fuck do you allow that?
And if you're a Bears fan, things got even worse because you found out today their best run-stopping, their best defensive tackles out for the year, Torres Peck, Andrew Billings.
If you can't stop the run in this league, you're toast.
The season
you're absolute toast.
The season is... I don't want to say the season's over for the Bears. It's over. It's over. The injuries have stacked up. I don't think the coach has any more control in the locker room. I think he's lost it. I don't think the players respect him. I don't think they should. I don't think he's done anything to earn any kind of respect. He's blown games. He's made bad calls. It's just a shame because again, a rookie quarterback now, it should get all reset again next year, which isn't good for him, but they need to move on from Eberflus as fast as they can.
You didn't to your credit, you weren't a fan of Eberflus right out of the gate.
He's a nobody. He's a cheap, typical Bears hire. They hire
you were very excited with Ryan Poles. I
liked Ryan Poles because he came from the Kansas City system and he oversaw a lot of those KC drafts that I really was impressed with some of those drafts, the guys that he was involved with kind of picking there with Veach. But my whole thing is that, again, they repeat the same insane. They find a random coordinator and they make him a head coach for the first time ever. They did it with Nagy. They did it again with Eberflus. They did it with this guy, with Mark Trestman. When Mark Trestman came in, they repeat the same mistakes over and over again. They went cheap. Jim Harbaugh, a guy who embodies everything. And listen, everyone knows my opinion on Jim
good
Harbaugh.
Right now, man.
They look awesome. Best defense in the league.
They look fucking real. By the way,
sneaky defense, could run the ball all day on you. Great.
They look like a playoff team, man.
Absolutely.
And you called it a couple weeks ago. You said, I don't think they're getting the just deserve the credit that they deserve.
Yes.
And the last couple weeks, man, they blew the doors off the Browns.
The guy was a quarterback for your organization. Jim Harbaugh was a quarterback for your organization. He embodies a Bears old school kind of coach. And he's an elite coach. He's proven winner everywhere he's been. And you're so fucking cheap. And you're so fucking committed to your dumb ways of repeating the same mistakes that you don't even think. They probably didn't even think to bring this guy in. It's embarrassing. Moving on, sell the team. That's it. Sell it to somebody. Sell it to somebody who gives a shit because this ownership clearly doesn't. Joe,
Well, she's old. She's
talk to
very
me.
old.
Yeah, I know the McCaskey, but she's not even the one. It's the son, the grandson, whatever. Tell me about the Dallas Cowboys, Joe,
I
losing
wanted to talk
another.
about that,
Okay, all
bro.
right. I figured you did. Atlanta, by the way, sneaky Atlanta Falcons started
They're
off
good,
slow,
man.
starting to get into the groove, scoring a lot of points these days. Kirk Cousins connecting with Darnell Mooney, Kyle Pitts a little bit back from the dead. Bijan Robinson, 86 yards, right? Everything kind of working for Atlanta right now, Joe. But on the flip side, Dallas is like,
Dallas. You want to talk about a team that's dead?
go
You
ahead.
talk about the Dallas Cowboys, man. And now I think Dak's out, what, at least two,
At least,
three
yeah,
weeks?
weeks. Yeah, weeks with
I
the
mean,
hamstring, right?
you
Hamstring.
can't, yeah. I mean, listen, they don't have a running game to begin with. I'm sorry, Rico Dowdle is not it. Yeah, Ezekiel Elliott is not it. They're one of the worst rushing teams in the league. They rest on their laurels. If it's not CD Lamb down the field or Ferguson, they don't have another complimentary receiver who's a playmaker because Brandon Cooks is not it. They just look like they're in shambles. Now they lose Dak Prescott. The defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. Micah Parsons is still not back. I think he's almost back
I think
soon.
he's back
But
this week, I think maybe.
yeah, but you know what? They don't have a defense to stop teams, and now you got Cooper Rush, who no harm, no foul against him, but he's not going to be leading you to victory. This is a team that's quite frankly dead. They're not even close to coming first in their division right now. The Commanders to me are a far better team, and then the Eagles are starting to roll now too. So
Yeah. Yep.
I don't think the Cowboys are going to make a wild card. I think they're done. And this goes back to me, and I've said it for a while, and I know he got me a Super Bowl in Green Bay. Mike McCarthy, man, I just don't think he's a great coach. And you know what? It's yeah, he was successful in Green Bay, but he was there for fucking 10 years or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And he had the best quarterback in the league, and he only
Twice.
got to and he only got to one Super Bowl. So
Yeah.
I think there's a culmination of things. I think Mike McCarthy's not the right guy there. But I also think, and Ticket said a couple weeks ago, Jerry Jones, man, gets in the way of that
Yeah, he
team's
does.
success because he's so self-absorbed about himself that he doesn't allow the team just to flourish on their own. He has to be involved in every way. And I think until he takes a step back, that team's just not destined to go far into the playoffs, and they're going to continue to struggle.
Yeah, I mean, listen, preseason I was kind of down on the Packers, on the Cowboys a little bit. Certainly the surprise of that division is the Commanders. I mean, that's for first and foremost. They're the surprise team. They've been outlandishly good. They just traded now at the deadline for Marshawn Lattimore, the corner from New Orleans comes over. And remember, this is a team that got rid of Montez Sweat. This is a team that got rid of Chase Young. Two big name edge rushers, obviously Young coming off injuries and stuff, but even still. And now they are in the driver's seat for a playoff position or to win that division. Dallas has done nothing. People complained all offseason. They had done nothing. Bringing Ezekiel Elliott back, and nobody's a bigger Ezekiel Elliott fan than I am. The man single-handedly won Ohio State a national championship on one of the greatest 4-game runs that I've ever seen anyone have in the sport of football. But the amount of tread on those tires, if you thought bringing Ezekiel Elliott back was going to, the guy's done. He's cooked.
Those things are bald, man.
A lot of mileage there. Dak to CeeDee Lamb. Yeah, we know about that, but defenses could kind of like play two guys over the top. They could bracket him a little bit. Ferguson's a very good tight end, but they did nothing. They did nothing to bolster the defense. They lose Dan Quinn, who's now, by the way, with those Commanders,
looking very good,
leading the charge over there, along with Jaden Daniels. And the Dallas defense has never looked worse. They can't stop a nosebleed. It is absolutely panic time for the Cowboys. And you know why? Because Cowboys fans probably feel a little bit like I feel as a Bears fan. Ownership is seriously hindering the growth and progress and change for the good for their football team. Jerry Jones, like you said, Joe, is a serious problem. This head coach, Mike McCarthy, it's not working. It's a problem. Maybe he's not a horrible coach, but something is inherently not working here. And what's going to be the thing that changes it? I would certainly venture to guess that if the Cowboys end the season with a losing record by several games and miss the playoffs outright, heads should roll. I mean, Jerry Jones is the type that's not going to tolerate that. But on the same hand, what is he going to do to fix it? I know what you're going to do at the end of the year. People are going to lose their jobs. Heads are going to roll. But what are you going to do to fix it? Are you the man to fix it? I'm not sure he is.
I don't know, man. Yeah, it's a mess there. It's a real mess. Makes you feel a little bit better about your team, Mikey, because I will say, and I know that you said the Bears season is done and whatnot. You have a lot to be excited about in the sense that this is a very young core of players on that team, and it's a young nucleus. And you know what? You figured that they're probably going to be around 500 this year, and that's where they look like they're going to be. And that if the Bears could go over 500 this year, I think that's a great feat. You look at the division that they're in, the hardest division in football.
I would be surprised at this point. Yeah,
but I'm saying, like, there's a lot to be excited about. But Dallas,
I'm not out on Caleb Williams. Like, I know a lot of people are complaining his accuracy issues, the deep ball. I think Caleb has issues that could easily be addressed and fixed by the right coordinator and coach. I think he's up shit's creek with these current guys. I think Bears, if you do anything, you take a bag and you throw all the money at Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator from Detroit, who's making Jared Goff look like Joe Montana. He has made Jared Goff look like Joe Montana. That's who you throw your money at this offseason. But for Dallas, the problem in Dallas is a lot worse because you paid Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
You paid him heavily. You paid him a boatload of money. And
they let Tony Pollard walk.
Yeah.
Don't forget that. And I'm not saying that a running back is a game changer, but I mean, if they had any resemblance of a running game at all, they went from the best offensive line in football for years to now.
Yeah, it's tough.
They can't gain 2 yards on a rush.
You want to pay these edge rushers like a Micah Parsons. You want to pay the wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb. You want to pay the quarterback. But I think the more and more you look at this league, the more and more you see, if the offensive line can't hold up against the rush, look, I'll give you the perfect example. Look at what's going on with the Houston Texans this year.
Yeah.
I know they have a good record. I know the record says differently, but when they lose, look at how bad CJ Stroud looks because he is consistently under siege. The Jets sacked CJ Stroud 8 fucking times on Thursday night.
Time to do
8 times. I don't care how good of a quarterback you are. Nobody can operate and survive playing in that kind of a system, in that kind of a hostile kind of environment in the pocket. They just can't. So for Dallas, I know you had to throw the money at these guys, but again, man, once you lose that O-line, it's very, very tough. But the Cowboys' problems run so much deeper than just the O-line in the run game. Dak is so wildly inconsistent. The defense has fallen. The defense, which was once one of the most intimidating defenses to play, they have fallen off the face of the earth. You had
Diggs was one of the best corners. And then you had Micah Parsons on the edge. I mean, they were DeMarcus Lawrence was fucking a presence. Yep. I don't know what's happened to them. They can't stop anybody.
Nobody.
It's bad.
Nobody. Real bad.
And they're not getting offensive contributions. So it's just a mess on both ends of the ball. Their season's done, man. That Dak being out now, that's it, man. That's it for the Cowboys, sadly to say.
I agree. A couple other games that went on, Baltimore bounced back, blows out Denver. Minnesota secures the win on Sunday night against
that Chiefs
Indy.
game.
The Chiefs, that was going to be the last game I was going to bring up to talk about in a little bit of depth. The Kansas City Chiefs approved. Also, I do want to mention Buffalo, big divisional win against the Miami Dolphins, that's big for Buffalo as well. But the Chiefs, Monday night overtime, it took them overtime to do it. Tampa Bay really, I got to tip the cap to Tampa, man. They got after Mahomes. They put him on his ass a couple times. This Chiefs team, though, man, it is like
Hopkins Andy Reid, dude. Oh my God.
Andy Reid, Matt Nagy, and Steve Spagnuolo. It's like they just could go get a guy like Pacheco out, gone. Juju Smith-Schuster.
Now Kareem Hunt comes in.
Rashee Rice out, gone.
It's insane.
They bring Travis
Not
Kelce.
to mention Hollywood Brown didn't even play a game.
Travis Kelce, who looks like a shell of his former self. He could catch a ton of balls, but when Travis Kelce gets in space now, he's not making anybody miss anymore. Like,
No.
he's just not. I've been watching him all year. He's not anymore. But he could still catch the ball, and he could still get open. He could still find his way open, and they have such a great chemistry, him and Mahomes, that it'll still work. But I'm just saying, like, they bring in a DeAndre Hopkins and a Kareem Hunt, and
man.
these guys look like they're in their primes of their career again. And you can't tell me that a portion of that isn't just because you're playing with number 15 and you're wearing that Chiefs uniform and you're playing for Andy Reid, and that team is just built differently than every other team in the league still. They are just cut from a different cloth. They are still in dynasty mode. They're trying to secure the third Super Bowl in a row, Joe. What do you think about KC? I know we both agree that the Lions look like maybe the most impressive team in the league, and I do have them at 1, and I have the Chiefs at 2, even though the Chiefs haven't lost the game yet. Are we crazy for not saying that the Chiefs are the best team in football with a bullet?
They just know how to win. There's a winning culture there.
Yes.
It was the same as when you saw the years with Brady and the Patriots. It's not pretty. It's oftentimes it's not pretty. It's scrappy, gritty. I mean, you took a Tampa Bay team who had half of their offense, 2 of their best receivers.
No Mike Evans,
gone.
no Godwin.
By the way, Kate On looks like me. He might be one of the best tight ends in the fucking league. Just the shit he's doing downfield. I mean, he's unbelievable. And kudos to Baker, man. Baker played his heart out. But they took a team that was, that you thought they would have walked all over. And they struggled, but they, all that matters at the end of the day is they secured another W. Yep. They're undefeated. They're going to win their division, and they're probably going to be poised for another Super Bowl run. So, to your question, Mikey, they're not always impressive wins, but they're winning every game, and it starts with Mahomes, dude. This guy, he looks like he's going to be injured. He's going to be hurt. Somehow he's like invincible, bro. He goes up to the sidelines. All of a sudden he's running back. He comes in the next fucking drive. And that throw he made to DeAndre Hopkins on the one of the craziest, most unbelievable plays I've seen. Never mind the catch, the throw.
Unbelievable. Dropped it right in the bucket.
In triple coverage. And meanwhile, DeAndre Hopkins looked like he couldn't catch a ball in Tennessee. Yeah. Comes back, it looks like he just left the Texans last week when he was in the prime of his career.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. Unbelievable.
It's amazing when you take these superstar ability players out of shitty situations and put them on a team that's like got a good culture, and just automatically you see the difference. Like a light bulb goes off. I don't know if it's that they don't try when they're with the shitty team, which it kind of almost makes it seem, or the shitty team is just so shitty that the new team that they're with, who's the winning culture team, like you had said before, Joe, just like it's just different. It's just different. And Hopkins,
you've got a pep to your step when you're walking onto a pitch with Mahomes and a 2-time Super Bowl winning team, and he's probably licking his chops thinking he died and went to heaven.
Yes.
And meanwhile, Matt Nagy looked like he couldn't call a fucking offensive play to save his life in Chicago, and now all of a sudden he's got this team on the offensive fucking front. Like, what is? I don't even know how that's got to drive you nuts. But
I mean, it doesn't. You know why? Because maybe Nagy would have worked out in Chicago. The more and more I think about the Bears, and the more and more they're just so fucked. Maybe Nagy is maybe Nagy is just a really good offensive coordinator and just can't be a head coach. And some of these guys are just coordinators. That's it.
Look at Spagnuolo on the other side of the ball.
Look at Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio was a great D coordinator. Went to Denver. He stunk as a head coach. That's just Spagnuolo, like you just said. It's just some of these guys are just not built to be head coaches. They're just better off as coordinators, and that's fine. And that's what Nagy's been doing. Now the Chiefs, I mean, if they're going to get Pacheco back. Rashae Rice, I think, he's out for the year, so they're not going to get Rashae Rice back, but they're going to get Pacheco back. You figure this team now with DeAndre Hopkins is the number 1 in the tight ends that they got, and if Xavier Worthy, he could take a top off the defense. Mecole Hardman, he's good once in a while mixing it. This team is and the offensive line, Creed Humphrey and those guys up front, man, from guard to guard, they just started towards the end. Kareem Hunt ripping off those runs, those holes that they were making. They just lean on you and lean on you and lean on you some more.
They wear you down.
Chiefs are going to be there at the end. They're going to be there at the end, whether it's in the AFC title game, right? So Let's move on to this week, though, Joe. We'll go through a couple highlighted games for this week. We'll start with tonight. Tonight, Thursday night football, and this is a great one. This is not a
Yeah,
good one, it's a great one. The Ravens and the Bengals, AFC North rivalry as good as it gets in Baltimore. Ravens, as it stands right now, a 6-point favorite over Cincy. Joe, Cincy on a little bit of a roll, especially offensively. Who do you like in
I
this game?
know. Man,
Tough
it's
game.
tough.
Tough game.
It's tough to go against the Ravens because right now they look great. I know that they lost that game against the Browns, but you know what? It's a
Divisional
divisional
game.
game,
Yep.
and you know what? They should have won. Kyle Hamilton had the game-ending pick in his hands, dropped it the next play. Jameis Winston throws a prayer to Cedric Tillman for a touchdown. So if you just make that catch, that's a win. But they look great. I'm going to go with Cincy in the points, though, here, because I really feel like Joe Burrow is finally operating on all cylinders. The offense looks very good. I don't know, is T. Higgins playing in this
He's
game? I
not. He
know.
is not. He's missing
Okay,
this
so
game.
that's a big loss for them, but I do think that I just think that they're going to hang around, and this is going to be another divisional game. I think 6 points is enough that I would go ahead and take Cincy here. I do think the Ravens win the game, but give me Cincy with the points for my play here.
Yeah, I wouldn't play this game straight up either, but I do think that that's a lot of points to give a team who's been running very hot offensively. Like, I don't think since he's going to stop the Ravens, but I think since he could score enough to cover six. Like, that's just
That's
how I
my
feel.
thought.
I think they could lose by 4, 3, something like that. So with that, I'll go Bengals +6. Bengals new running back Khalil Herbert traded there before the deadline from the
From the
Bears. So,
Bears.
Zach Moss out now with a neck injury for Cincy. So you're going to get Khalil Herbert. Maybe he gives them a little something with the ground game. Jamar Chase, obviously, everybody knows. And we'll see what Burrow does. He's been on fire. Now, going into Baltimore is a whole different animal. But
Yeah.
those games of late have been very interesting, Bengals Ravens games. So both Joe and I are taking Cincy with the points there. Let's go to this is a very good game, too. The Pittsburgh Steelers
Yeah.
traveling to Washington to play the Commanders. Washington giving 3 points, home favorite. 3 points is the traditional. So they're saying, it's a pretty even matchup, but they're giving the Commanders -3. Who do you like there, Joe?
I think I'm going to go with Washington at home. I need to see more from Russell Wilson and against a pretty solid defense like the Commanders have. If he can go out and get a win this week, then I'm going to be kind of singing a different tune. But up until I see something more, I got to go with the Commanders. They look really good right now, man. I feel like they're playing good football at home. I'm going to take this. By the way, this is Ticket's game of the week. He's taken Washington -3 as his play of the week. He did inform me to let us know so we could get it in there. So that's his play for the week.
That's interesting because my play of the week is the opposite, and my
Wow.
play of the week is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mike
I got to hear
Tomlin.
this.
Here's my thing: is like as good as Jaden Daniels has been, he is still a rookie quarterback in this league, and when you get a coach like Mike Tomlin coming in, who's seen it all, who's done it all, Pittsburgh's defense is very good. They're an upper
Yeah. I
echelon
mean,
defense in this league.
TJ Watt is.
Them against a rookie quarterback, I just really, and the way Russell has looked, I mean,
He's
and
looked
this is like
solid.
it's not like being outdoors is going to mean anything to Pittsburgh. They both play around the same neck of the woods. They're used to that weather. It's not going to mean anything. I like the Steelers here, mixing in the ground game with Najee Harris, the way Russell's look, but most importantly, their special teams are elite, Pittsburgh. But that defense against a rookie quarterback, I just feel like, what do you expect Jaden Daniels to realistically do? He's not going to run the table, is he? Like, is he really that? Is this team that unbelievable? Maybe they are, but I think this is a spot. I think this is a spot game. I'm taking the Steelers. I'm not only taking the Steelers with the 3 points, I'm taking them money line as my game of the
Wow.
week.
I like that.
Give me the Steelers money line +124 right now as my game of the week.
By the way, that Giants game last week, the Giants were right there at the end of the
They
game. I
were.
mean,
They were.
they were right there.
They were.
So yeah, I don't mind the play, Mikey. I think a lot of money is going to be on Washington. So I think You're going to get good value there, and if you're gonna take them, 3 points,
Yeah.
why not throw in
Why
the
not?
money line?
Yeah. Why not take a
I
money
don't
line?
mind that play at all. I really don't.
Let's go to that's a clunker. That's a clunker. Let's go
There's a
to
couple.
yeah, there's a couple clunkers. I'll do the Bears game just because the Bears are my team and Joe will do the Packers. Oh, Packers are on a bye, so he doesn't have to do that.
Packers on a bye.
Bears host the Patriots. The Bears are giving 6 points. I'm taking the Patriots plus 6 points. I'm not going to say the Patriots are going to win outright, even though I said they could. There is no way. There is no way, given the current state of affairs in this Bears locker room, that the Bears should be a touchdown favorite over anyone. There is no way. I don't care who they're playing. There's no way that the Bears should be a 6 point favorite over anyone. Over anyone. Give me the
Yeah.
Patriots plus 6.
The Patriots are scrappy. That last drive against Tennessee to fucking force overtime. Drake May is starting to feel like,
I don't know.
maybe he
Is he
can
going to
make some
play or
plays.
is he banged up? He's banged up, I
I
think, right?
I think he's scheduled to
Is
play.
he scheduled to play? I'll look it up. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Joe. Keep going with your pick, though.
But yeah, no, I'm with you. I think the Bears win this game, but 6 points is a
He is going to
lot.
play. Okay, Drake
I
May's
know.
going to
I think
give
so.
me the Patriots, man.
Ramondre Stevenson's going to have a monster
Yes,
game
he is. Yes, he
because they're
is.
just going to run. I haven't seen anything like just watching the Cardinals just run the ball down the fucking Bears' throats.
Yep.
I feel like that's got to be the recipe for the Patriots. And
Yep.
if they can run the ball, they keep Drake May, not getting smashed and hurt, throwing some plays. I think they're going to score some points. So I do
Yes.
like the Bears to win, but 6 points is a lot. I'm with you. I'll take the Patriots at +6.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, listen, that's it's too many points for the Bears for a team that's not.
I'd go with Ramondre Stevenson touchdown. Fuck that.
Sure. You sure? Another good
I
play.
sure would.
49ers at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is getting 6 points at home. Return of Christian McCaffrey. San Fran is kind of in that mode where they really can't afford to lose
They
too many
have to
more
win.
games. What do you like there, Joe? San Fran's 6 point favorite on the road against a Tampa team that just took the Chiefs to overtime in Kansas City.
Tampa Bay is a really hard team to get a real good feel for
Sure
because
are.
one week they look like they could hang with anyone, and then the next week they just look terrible. I think this is a week they're not going to have it. They still are without their best players. McCaffrey comes back. Give me the Niners. Everything would make you feel like Tampa Bay is the play here, but I do think San Francisco, to your point, they get McCaffrey back. They're banged up, but I do feel like they're going to come in and take care of business. It's just very hard. Like, I probably would stay away from this game because Tampa Bay is just a team I just can't get a read on. I really don't. And again, 6 points for a road game, on a team that's having to travel across the country.
Yeah.
I mean, that's tough. So I would stay away. But for the purpose of this episode, I'll take the Niners.
Yeah. Man.
I
You
could go
know,
either way. It's kind
yeah.
of really.
I mean, listen, again, Tampa is, I think, Joe, you nailed it. That Tampa's one of those hard teams to get like a read on. Like, is Baker going to go out and throw 3 interceptions or is he going to go
Good.
out there and protect the ball? Like, it's
He
hard
had
to
7
say.
interceptions in the last, 3 weeks? And then
Yeah.
last week he looked unbelievable.
6 points is an awful lot of points, man, for a San Francisco team that has really has gone through it, injured, banged up, dinged up, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to take Tampa getting the points at home. I'll take them getting the points at home, and I know I'm going to regret it. Again, a game I would never advise to pick, like Joe said too. I just wouldn't. We'll do 1, 2 more, 3 more good ones. I mean, these are interesting ones. I'm not going to say they're great, but they're interesting. Eagles at Cowboys. Eagles a full touchdown favorite, 7 point favorite, Joe. Does Dallas have any chance of resuscitating the season with Cooper Rush at the helm against the Eagles, or is that a foregone conclusion that the Eagles will cover?
I think the Eagles are going to smash them. I really do. Maybe Cooper Rush goes out. Now, I will say the Eagles have fucked around a little bit, and I think that goes back to coaching. They allowed Sirianni allowed the Jaguars to come back and almost
Did the same with the
fucking
Browns. a couple of
Oh
weeks
my God,
ago.
they got to learn how to close the game up. They were curb stomping this team,
Yeah,
and then they went and just some of the decisions to go for two when they went. It's just mind-boggling some of these coaching decisions. So I'm not thrilled about that. But we talked about Dallas and just the state of affairs that they're in. Give me the Eagles with the 7. I can't take Dallas right now. They're just too far gone in
I
my
agree.
opinion.
Saquon, I think, has a good
He
game, and I
looks
think I
unbelievable. You want to talk about MVP candidates now? I know it's not going to go to a running back, but bro, he looks
yeah, it looks awesome.
the backwards hurdle over. I mean, dude,
The
he is
backwards
fucking
hurdle is one
back.
of the more wild things I've ever seen.
I
I
to
mean,
think
ever,
of doing that.
ever. I mean, that was almost like a movie. Like it
It's
looked
like
like
a
a
video
special
game. It was like
effects.
something you
Yeah.
do in Madden when you're playing a
I
video
don't even
game.
know if you can do that in Madden.
You
That's how
can't. I don't think
insane
you
that was.
can backwards
Incredible. That's
hurdle.
a
They're gonna have to put that
that's a
in.
new one. Yeah, that's a new one. Give me the Eagles minus the 7. Here's another interesting one. Arizona Cardinals, who have looked very good of late. They are getting 1 point, basically a pick 'em against the New York Jets, who are in must-win mode if they want to
Yeah.
have any shot at all. Big win for them at home last Thursday against the Texans. But did the Jets have a chance to cover a point on the road at Arizona? I'll go first, Joe. I'm going to take the Jets minus the 1 because I am going to die going down on the Jets ship because I've hyped them up far too much for the last 2 years. They just won a game at home last week. And I just think once Rodgers could get like a couple in a row, that's when he really starts to cook. It looks like him and Devontae right on the same page. It took 2 games and now they're back on the same page. Garrett Wilson looks like one of the best receivers in football when he's right.
Yeah.
Hassan Reddick back. That defense got a little more oomph to it. Give me the New York Jets to kind of upset the apple cart of what's going on in Arizona.
It's my game of the week.
Oh,
And my game of the week, and I'm taking the Jets minus 1. For
there
all
you
the
go.
reasons that you said, Mikey,
There you go, Joe.
I finally saw Aaron Rodgers finish that game and have some confidence that it seems like he hasn't had all year. It's been very, very tough sledding. Him and Devontae Adams are gonna fucking go off this week. I really believe so. Bryce Hall, they have the weapons. I feel like they just needed, like you said, they needed a big win. They got it against a good team. Not only did they get it, they went out with an emphatic
Yeah.
last play to
Yeah.
seal the victory. That has got to feel so good for a guy like Aaron Rodgers. And to your point, he has taken teams like the Packers in the past who seem like they have no shot at making the playoffs and just say, that's it. This is our time now. And just gone on a stretch of just games where he just compiles wins and all of a sudden they're right back in the mix. And I think he could do that with the Jets. And I think it starts this week. This is an absolute must-win game for the Jets if they want any hope of getting back into a playoff picture. And I think they're going to do it. And I think that this Cardinals team is good, but I don't think they're great. I think they're very inconsistent. And I think the Jets defense is going to step up this week. Give me the Jets minus 1. That's my game of the week, Mikey.
I think another reason that people should really consider this is because this line is getting deflated down to the reason why is because of the performance Arizona had last week against the Bears. It's a very short-term memory handicap world when it comes to Vegas sometimes. And what the Arizona Cardinals were able to do against the Bears, they are not going to be able to do against the Jets. They're not going to
No.
run against a defense that's basically given up, that lost their best interior tackle. Quinnen Williams will be out there for the Jets, unlike the Bears, who had nobody to stop James Conner. The Arizona Cardinals will not be getting pressure on Aaron Rodgers at the rate in which they got pressure on Caleb Williams because Caleb Williams' entire offensive line, both his starting tackles were out. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen against the Jets.
I mean, the last 2 wins the Cardinals had were against a hapless Miami team and then against the Bears team. Who,
yeah, and
like
by
you
the
said,
way, Miami blew that game. Miami was in control of
they
that
should have
game.
won.
Yes. So, I mean, again, the Jets, I love that pick, Joe. I love that pick. I'm all for it. All right. Only a couple more left now. Detroit, another game that on paper you say, well, this is an interesting game. Lions at the Texans. It's the Sunday night game, which is actually a nice Sunday night game. 3.5 point favorite, Detroit Lion on the road. So they're only giving them a half a point, really, because or well, no, they're giving. I'm sorry, they're really saying they're 6.5 points better. Home teams always
Yeah.
gets the -3. They're saying that Detroit's a full touchdown better, almost, than the Houston Texans. What do you think, Joe? -3.5 Lions at the Texans.
I mean, we talked about how good the Lions are, but the Texans are a solid team too. Um, you
Nico
know,
Collins maybe back this week. I gotta
if
look.
Nico
I
Collins is
gotta look.
back, it
Gotta look.
changes a lot. But I'm gonna take the Texans to cover the 3.5. I would really think differently if it was a 2.5 or 3 point spread. But
He's gonna play.
this,
He's gonna
yeah, I
play. He
mean,
didn't. He
listen,
didn't practice, but they said he's ready to go for them. So
the
I think he's gonna
Texans are
play.
going to have to desperately find a way to protect CJ Stroud. That is going to
That's
be what
right.
this game comes down to.
That's right.
Because if CJ Stroud gets time in the pocket, I do think that they can make plays. On the other side, or on the flip side, I think Joe Mixon has looked
Yes.
as good as he has fucking
Yes.
looked
Yes.
maybe ever. He looks tremendous running the ball. So I think they're playing at home. I really feel like they're going to be in this game. I do think the Lions will pull off the victory here, but with that hook, I think that that's enough to let me lean towards the home side in a big game on Sunday Night Football. I think Stroud has a pretty solid night. Give me the Texans with the 3.5.
Yeah, that's it. I got to go against you on that one, Joe. I'm going to take Detroit. I am so down on the Texans offensive line. I've seen them the past couple weeks. I saw them against Indianapolis. And by the way, if it wasn't for Anthony Richardson's insane,
Yeah,
incomprehensible decision making, the Colts would have
terrible.
beaten the Texans a couple weeks ago. I saw a Jets team do whatever they wanted to that front. CJ Stroud, when he gets put under that kind of pressure, like most quarterbacks, can't do anything. Um, if you're getting the Lions at under 4 points as a favorite against anybody right now, minus, let's say, the
Yeah.
biggest of the big teams, Ravens, Chiefs, Buffalo, maybe, Philly. I say you have to take the Lions when you get a favorable spread like that, even though it's on the
Goff
road.
back in a dome.
That's a good environment for Goff. Goff loves to play inside. We know this. So I'm gonna take Detroit. Last one, the Monday night game. Two teams desperate for a win as well. Rams on a little bit of a run. The Rams on a little bit
Yeah,
of a
the
run.
Rams look solid, man.
Rams -1 at home, basically a pick 'em Monday night football against the Miami Dolphins, who, man, back-to-back excruciating losses for the Dolphins in games that they were really in. And Tua has looked good. God bless him. Coming back from that concussion, he looks good. He
Yeah,
looks
he
the
looks
part.
solid.
Who do you like there, Joe?
I like the Rams. I think the Rams are starting to catch their stride. And listen, they're one of the best coached teams in the league.
They are.
And you look at the injuries they had. When you lose your two best receivers, who are as good as Cooper Kupp and Puka Nakua, that's a tough thing to bounce back from. They just came off a huge divisional win in Seattle, tough place to play. And I feel like they're on the up and coming. Plus, they did that game without basically Puka Nakua because he got
Got
ejected.
ejected. Insane.
Unbelievable. So I like the Rams here. I think the Dolphins are just a bit in disarray. And again, this comes back to Mike McDaniels. I don't think when he first went in there, he had a great first year. Everybody was like, this guy's such a great coach, the wonder kid and everything. He's really kind of lost a step. And I feel like the Dolphins, they have not utilized Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill in the last several weeks. Obviously with Tua being out, that's tough, but like they just they need to get that offense on all cylinders firing. And I don't think they're gonna do it. This Rams defense is pretty pesky. Give me the Rams -1. But yeah, this could be a close game. I don't know if I would pick a side if I
Yeah, I
had
mean,
to.
if I had to, again, one of those tougher games. I think I'm gonna take Miami. I would take a money line because +1. I mean, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
take a money line. Again, I think Miami has been right there, man, on the road at Buffalo, a team that traditionally they have so many problems with the Bills. They always look bad against the Bills. I actually thought the Bills would have handled them a lot easier than they did,
They
especially
struggle.
in Orchard Park. They should have beat the Cardinals. They didn't. They hung with the Bills till the bitter end. I thought they could have won that game. This will be the week, I think. This has to be the week because if they lose this one 3 in a row after Tua comes back, I think it's safe to say it's over for Miami. It's
Yeah.
over. So do or die situation for Tua. I think they do respond. I think Tyreek Hill has a big game. I think he has a Tyreek Hill type of game.
Yeah.
So I'll take the Dolphins outright in that one. So we're kind of on the same page with most, but the last two it looks like we're opposite. But So there you go. That's going to be week 9 or week 10 in the
Week 10,
NFL.
I believe.
10, week 10 in the NFL. Yep. Unbelievable how
Unbelievable,
fast
man.
that goes. We're in the double digits already. We have our games of the week. I have Steelers money line at Washington. Joe
Pop,
has the
Pop
Jets.
has the Washington Commanders.
He
You guys
does.
are
He does. We're
going
going
head to
against
head
each
in
other.
there.
Head up. Yep. Yep. And Joe's got the Jets -1 on the road against the Cards. So now we are on to one of our favorite parts of the program, the Who's Your Problem segment. Who's a problem that you saw this week, Joe, good or bad?
My problem was going to be the Dallas Cowboys, but we did talk about
We
that.
did. We
So
did.
why don't you give me yours to start, and then I'll figure something out to throw in there.
Okay, for sure. I'll give you my problem, and I talked about him already a little bit, but people always like to accuse me of not showing love to certain divisional opponents. Jared Goff, man. Jared
Yeah,
Goff is a problem. Like, this guy is having one of the most efficient in terms of completion percentage. He is having a legitimate MVP season. I never expected him to be this good. When Detroit traded for him, I said, "Wow, what a huge mistake this is for Detroit. This is never going to work out." I've had to eat my words the last 2 seasons now. And this season, I mean, they look better than they did last year. They
they
look better
do.
than they did last year because they're a little bit better, I think, on defense, which is the difference for them. That offensive line is going to carry them as far as they could possibly go. As long as they can continue to score points, they're going to be tough to beat. But Jared Goff, I have to tip my cap to him. I mean, this guy could legitimately win the MVP of the league this year. And you know what? Really, him and Lamar are the two guys for me right now. I
Yeah.
really think that he
Josh
deserves it.
Allen's up there too, I think.
Josh Allen and Jaden Daniels are kind of both in the conversation as well, I believe. So yeah, Josh has done well, but these two guys stand above the rest for me.
Yeah.
But Goff is just like, he's robotic almost. Like, he doesn't miss any throws. He just
Do you think
completes
Mahomes would be
everything.
in the question in there because
You
of the record?
know, you
If
know
they
the
keep winning,
the record, the fact that he lost like two of his biggest horses early in the year in Pacheco and Rashay Rice, the fact that he didn't have that many weapons, I don't think really to begin with. If you look at it, the fact that they're undefeated if they continue to run the
I
table,
just feel
but
like his name's going
certainly
to circulate if he
it
keeps winning.
certainly will. It certainly will. Here's the thing is like up until this week against Tampa, statistically, like he didn't have one of those games where you're like, oh my God. But this
I
week,
know.
obviously, he throws for almost, I think he threw for almost 300. He throws for
Yeah,
three
he
touchdowns.
went off.
Yeah, he went off. So it's like, it's tough to say, but I still think that the top two front runners have to be Goff and Lamar. And at
Yeah,
this
I agree.
point, like if they said we're giving it to Goff, I'd say I can't argue with it. So hats off, Jared Goff. He's a problem.
I'm gonna go the ticket route here, and I'm actually gonna put my problem as not a sports player or athlete, but a thing. And that is gonna be an airline that we flew today. Truly one of the worst airlines I've ever experienced. We were booked through a third party through Callaway, so they booked us from San Diego to Phoenix. So thankfully, it was a very short flight. You want to talk about chaotic, Mikey? Let's talk Southwest Airlines.
Oh yeah,
An
it's a free for all. It's a free
absolute
for all on that plane.
cattle car,
Yeah,
absolute organized chaos
yeah.
where I've only flown with them one other time and I couldn't comprehend the system where you literally line up based on a number so I was B49. So they have literal
It's like playing
sanctioned
bingo.
numbers. Yeah, and you set up there and there's no assigned seating.
Yeah, I
And you
know.
just get in the plane
I
and
know.
I was like
It's like it's
scanning.
like it's like a little sneak preview of communism, basically.
Bro, it was unbelievable, Mikey. I was like, do I look for a window? Do I risk it and keep going and trying to get an aisle? Or
Yeah,
am I going to end up at the
yeah.
last row in the aisle? It was absolute madness. And I somehow managed to secure an aisle seat in 18C or whatever it was, because a mom and a daughter were sitting next to each other. So the mom was in the middle seat. So I got lucky, but like it I don't know how they've operated like
I've
that.
only flown it once back and forth to Colorado. And
It
yeah,
is
I'm not a
a
fan
shit
of not being
show.
able to pick your seat. I'm just not a fan of that.
Well, especially like
I'm just
Perez or
not.
somebody who's a bigger guy like yourself. Like you want to make sure before you get on the plane that you're like
Yes.
able to
I need at
secure
least
an emergency exit.
at the very least I need an aisle and I need to be on the left side aisle so I could stretch my right leg out because my right knee is like fucked up. I need to extend it. So like at the very least, like that's what I have to do. But like, yeah, Southwest was tough, dog. Like, listen,
Bro,
if this
how have
was
they
like
continued
if
to
it's
do
like the
this?
flight to Chicago where you're up and down in literally
Oh,
2 hours, that's one thing. But if you're flying, and like you said, Joe, it's a very short flight, so it's not bad. But like I flew Southwest from New Jersey to Colorado. That
oh
was
my
not fun. That was
bro,
not
we
fun.
flew on the way there. We weren't with Southwest, we were with Delta, which by the way, I think Delta might be low key
Delta's a
one of the
nice
best
airline.
airlines.
Nice airline.
We flew from Atlanta to San Diego, and it was like the flight that never ended.
Right.
It just kept going on and on. If we had been in Southwest for that flight, my God, that would have been. I mean, I think part of it is like the pre like boarding, like your anxiety starts rising because you're like, I don't know where I'm going to sit. I really don't want to be in a fucking middle seat. If
Right.
you have a 6 hour flight, that's a problem.
No, yeah, that's a big problem.
So I don't know.
Good
God
problem.
love them. Good for them. They figured out. Now the one flip side, they gave us 2 free check bags, so I got to give credit where credit's due there. But the whole seating arrangement stuff, people are like trying to fit their way in. Like I'm B44 and pushing people. It's crazy, crazy. It's something that I don't want to be a part of moving forward.
All right, here we go. Viewer questions. We're going to start off with Quinn Van Galen. Name a team currently in the playoffs, NFL, that will miss and vice versa. So a team that's currently in the playoffs that's not going to make it, and a team that's outside looking in that is going to make it.
That's a great question.
Yes.
All right, let me look here. Oh, just to see a team that's currently in a playoff spot that will be
So I'll
out.
give you the teams in the playoff spots, Joe. So in the AFC, you got the Chiefs 1, Bills 2,
Yeah.
Steelers 3, Texans 4, Ravens 5, Chargers 6, Broncos 7. NFC, you have Lions 1, Commanders 2, Falcons 3, Cardinals 4, Vikings 5, Eagles 6, Packers 7.
All right.
On the bubble, you got like other teams, but just
I got mine.
go ahead.
I got mine that I think that's outside of the playoffs, and I'll go same division actually.
Okay.
I will go with the Arizona Cardinals at 5-4.
Yeah.
I think won't be there at the end. I actually think the Rams are going to win that division. So the Rams are my team that are outside the playoffs right now that I think are trending upwards.
Okay.
Great coach. I think they have their horses back. I think they're going to win that division.
Okay.
Or at least make it into the playoffs. I think if a team's actually, you know what? I'm going to take that out because I think San Francisco might. I will take Arizona as a team that won't
miss.
Yes. But in terms of teams that are outside looking in, give me the San Francisco 49ers. That's the team that I'm going to take. Same division, just flipping.
Okay. Team that's currently in that I don't think will be there in the end. Denver is a very nice story, but I just don't think Denver is going to make the playoffs. I just don't. I think Denver will be a team, and they're the second wild card right now, so it's not like that crazy. If I had to pick a team that's in number one in their division that I think could miss the playoffs potentially, I swear, hand to God, if it's not the Cardinals, I really would think it's the Texans. That's how down I am on that Texans O-line. I just think they're in a dangerous, dangerous spot. But I'll say Denver for purposes of the question. Then a team that's on the outside looking in. I like the Niners, Joe. I don't mind that. The Bengals. Bengals could be very interesting.
Yeah.
They're 4-5, great quarterback. Coaches.
They got to win this week, man. This week is a huge.
That would mean they'd have to win this week, and that's going to be a very tall, tall task. So we'll see. Next question. Nathan Judge, what is the optimal amount of people to watch a football game?
Like at a house, like at a place.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I would imagine. Yeah. Yes, I would imagine.
I think maybe like 4. I think 4 is good. Everybody gets a spot on the couch. Everybody. You're not starting to get too crowded, but you have a good enough crew that you can enjoy football Sunday with. Maybe order some pizzas with. You got enough guys that you can take down a nice little spread.
Yeah.
I think 4 is a solid number.
I think 4 is the magic number, to be honest. Are you saying 4 including yourself or 4 plus you?
Yeah, so like you plus 3 buddies.
I love that. Okay. I'm with you on that 100%.
I think everybody's got a spot on the when you start getting to 5, 6 people have to get extra chairs.
Yes, yes,
You know,
yes.
then you
Four
maybe
is the
have
magic
somebody's
number.
who are rooting for a team that's not on the TV, and it's just like too much. Yeah.
4 quarters in football, one guy per quarter.
There you
That's the way
go.
I
I
look
love
at it.
that. I love that.
Cody Smith.
Or you could even do this 4 quadrants in the YouTube TV, 4
That's true.
teams.
That's true. That's true. 4 different games, no problem. Cody Smith. Will Mike McCarthy finish the season as the Cowboys head coach?
uh, to your point, Mikey, if they keep losing, I think he'll pull the plug. I think he likes McCarthy though,
I think
man.
so too. That's why I don't
I
think he
think
will. I think he's going
I
to
think
ride it
he's going
out
to last the
no matter
season,
what.
and
Yeah.
then I don't think he gets him back for next season. But he likes him, so I think he makes the season. Plus, two with Dak being hurt now, the expectation to win is going to be lower. If Dak was still there and they kept losing, I think
Yeah.
maybe you see him pull the plug. But with Cooper Rush in the next few weeks, I don't think anybody expects Dallas to go on a run. So I think McCarthy lasts the season. Maybe he comes back, but most likely, I think he'll probably pull the plug after this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll be the end of the year. I don't think they'll fire him in season.
No.
Not many teams do that. Well, I'll say this: not many of like the flagship franchises of the league do that. So I'd find that hard to believe. Adam Baradelli, should the Dolphins take a quarterback in the draft this year?
I mean, it wouldn't be a bad idea to do so.
Insurance and a little insurance
I mean,
policy.
everybody said, why did Penix go to Atlanta? Well, he went to Atlanta because they took a chance on a quarterback who had ruptured an Achilles.
Yep.
And so far that play has been working out. Kirk Cousins is looking better every week, but that just goes to show how week to week it's so you don't know what you're going to get. It takes one hit for your guy to be down, and all of a sudden you have a team that's a contending team, a playoff team that could go deep into the playoffs, to a team now that is completely lost. The quarterback position is so tough, and with Tua's record of concussions and injuries, I don't know if they're going to if they take a quarterback right out of the gates first round, but like maybe in the later rounds you take a guy who's got some good pedigree, guy who could come up and do something, that at least you have somebody that you could thrust into the lineup better than what they have right now, because they don't got much.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, I think they should take a quarterback. They don't that doesn't necessarily mean like that they got to take one in the first round, or they got to like trade away the franchise to move up in the first round to go get one. I think they do need a little bit of an insurance policy. They should look to develop someone behind Tua, a rookie who McDaniels really likes, and that's who they should take. And if it's in the mid rounds, second day pick, even a third day pick, something. You got to have something there. You got to have a plan B, a legitimate plan B, not Tyler Huntley. You got to have a legitimate
Huntley's
plan
fucking
B.
awful, man.
David Click, favorite touchdown celebration of all time. I'll give mine. I would be the Dirty Bird. I was always a big fan of the Dirty Bird in Atlanta. I always thought that was like the Macarena before its time, the Dirty Bird. I'll take that.
I mean, I'm a fan of the Lambeau Leap, so I got to go with that. But I think another one, I really love the Gronk spike for a long time. I think that was a really, I mean, it wasn't anything crazy, but I feel like sometimes you could feel that spike reverberate throughout the entire fucking stadium.
For sure.
It just smashing that thing down. So those would be my two.
Two more and then we'll go, Joe. Jack Hillermeyer. If you went to jail, who was the first person in the group? I'm assuming the group, like our group of bandits, that you would call.
Oh boy. Probably you, to be honest.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I was gonna say. I think my answer is Joe, and I know I kind of thought he would say B as well, and it's not because we're recording together. Joe is very reliable when it comes to phone calls. He's very, very reliable, and that's not to say that the other guys aren't. It's just to say that Joe is very reliable when it comes.
I feel like Perez would be on a golf course somewhere where I try to call
100%.
Bob would be.
You don't know if you're gonna get him. You don't know if you're gonna.
You don't know.
You don't know.
Jet probably wouldn't have the time of day for you. And
the tick is probably my second
Tick's
call.
probably my second
call. If Joe
call.
doesn't answer, Tick is my second call.
My real answer is my wife, because I know that she would answer on the drop of a dime.
I think obviously that's everyone's answer, but yes, but in the group.
But I'm saying in terms of group,
yeah.
I also think Mikey and I were a little bit older. We're the same age. I feel like I could trust him in a situation like that where he wouldn't like overreact and be like, "Oh my God, what did you do?" He would
If
just be
you
like,
call
"Where do you need
Bob
me?"
and he answers, he's coming to prison
Oh,
like this. This is how he's
yeah,
coming to
he's gonna
prison,
have the phone up. Yeah. Can I
recording
see you?
everything that's happening.
Come out in your jail suit.
Content over everything. Last
Yeah,
one.
he
This
had
is
the chain gang music playing as I walked out, Michael.
um this is a very morbid one from Clayton Fahey.
Oh
This is
no.
morbid, man. Would you rather know how you're gonna die or when you're gonna die?
Geez, that's a great question, actually, morbid as it is.
I would rather know
Um,
when. I'd rather know when. I think that I don't care at that point. I don't even know if I care how. I just want to know when.
the thing is, if you know how, it's gonna drive you crazy. Like, say
Crazy.
if you find out you die from a heart attack, you're gonna try to do everything you
That's
can
right.
to get your heart. Like, you're gonna become obsessed with
That's
it.
right. That's right.
Whereas if you know when it is, you just know the timeline. It's like, okay,
Great.
I got this many
Right.
years to live. I'm gonna live the
Right.
best fucking life I
That's
can.
right. That
And
in
that's
fact,
where it
I
ends.
think in fact, if you don't
I think
pick
it's not even
it's
close.
not close. If you don't pick when, you're a sociopath. If you pick how you're gonna die over when, you're a sociopath.
Imagine you find out you die like you're murdered or like you're shot
Yeah, I
or
don't need
like
to know that.
you drown.
Don't need to
You
know.
never imagine
And
drowning as a death. You go on vacation. I'd never get in a body of water for the rest of my
And by
life.
the way, if you know when the day of, I would just put myself in like a bed somewhere. I would just lay in a bed, lock the door, and that's it. That's what I would
But do
do.
you know when to the day or to like the year?
I mean, you're telling me when. I would imagine to the minute almost.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
You got to go when.
I sociopathic to go how?
Yeah, I
Because
agree.
what if you find out you die in a terrible way?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
That's going to
just
fucking ruin your
I
whole
don't think
life.
I don't think I
No,
could ever continue living
no,
day to day
no,
like in a good manner. I would it would
no,
hurt me.
no, no.
I can't do that.
And what,
That's crazy.
and
Morbid ass question too, by the way.
it is. And with that, as we end the episode of the Sportsman, it's so comforting to know I'll be in an airplane tomorrow. Um, God Almighty, let
Hopefully
me
an
say
exit
now.
row.
Yes, yes. But that was another episode of the Sportsman. Please like, comment, and subscribe on the YouTube. We hope you enjoyed this one. That's Joey D. I'm Mikey V, and we're here to say we'll see you next week.